Oh, there's no
Love
music.
it.
All right, well,
There's no music. Wild.
I could have sworn I heard some Arabian Nights. I don't know. My bad.
I love it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Football League show. You guys can follow us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and we do have a Threads now on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the little notification bell so you can get updated whenever we post a short, we post a clip from the video or anything like that. Every new update, you guys will get informed. On this week's episode, we are going to talk about a couple of different topics here. We're going to discuss about the possibility of Arizona trading Kyler Murray and drafting a quarterback number 1 overall. We're going to look at the possibility of another quarterback trade for Willis from in between Tennessee and New York. We're going to ask, can DJ Moore be a top 10 receiver in the NFL? And then we're going to see if the Packers can actually make a run in the NFC North if Love is able to play average or above average. We're also going to tell you which college teams you should be watching this year that might catch you off guard and aren't very well-known household names for this upcoming season. All right, with that let's hop right into this. So, again, I do want to emphasize to any viewers on this, we do not have inside sources. We are not insiders. We don't have sources.
Do we?
To have a source.
Do we? I'm kidding. We definitely don't. Or do we?
We know people that play in the NFL, but we don't communicate with them regularly enough. And we definitely don't ask them about anything going on within the league. So we won't claim to have insiders. So, but I did see early in the week, PFF posted a mock draft where they had Caleb Williams going number 1 to Arizona. Now I'm sure in the article they kind of mentioned that, they'd probably trade the pick and whoever get it would draft Caleb Williams. But it did create an interesting idea. Should Arizona actually trade Kyler Murray and then just draft Caleb Williams? We did put a poll up early in the week, and while it is a small sample size, actually 54.5% of you guys watching said that they should actually trade the pick, with 36% said they should trade the pick, 54.5% said they should trade Kyler, and the remaining said other. So before we get into, why don't you tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are about that idea? How would you think that would work? Do you think it's a decent idea? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, given the scenario, if the Cardinals do indeed get the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft, I'm in the camp that says I think they should not trade Kyler Murray. I think they should keep him and trade the number 1 pick. And here's why. So Kyler's contract is a pretty big concern for me regarding a possible trade. I know we looked at some numbers before the June 1st, 2024 deadline, right? If he was traded before June 1st, that dead cap for the Cardinals would be $81 million. Okay. Secondly, if he was traded after that June 1st date, the dead cap for 2024, the hit would be right here in my notes, $13 million. And then in 2025, the dead cap hit would be 33, right? So the Cardinals would save $35 million in dead cap if they trade him after June 1st. But how likely would a post-June 1st trade be, given the fact that most of these trades would happen before the NFL draft, either before or during the NFL draft, right? Which is well before June. So they would, with that theory, right? If they wanted to draft Caleb, they could draft him, and then keep Kyler on roster till June 1st, and hopefully find a trade partner after June 1st. Which, given the size of his contract, I feel like would be fairly hard to do. And why not just keep him then? Save all that cap hit and just build around Kyler, dude. Trade back Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there. Pair him up. You just drafted Paris Johnson Jr. with the 6th overall pick in this previous draft, right? Why not just keep him and just move forward from there? But Emmett, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts regarding Kyler's future with the Cardinals if they do indeed get the number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, I'm going to put my GM roster hat on here, and I'm going to have a little fun with this. And I know this isn't what NFL teams do, but I'm going to have a little fun with it. If it were me, I would trade Kyler. I know you went through the numbers, and it would be a post June 1st cut or trade. So while that may be difficult to maybe facilitate, and by difficult, I specifically mean you're not going to get the full value that you would if you're trading him beforehand. But I mean, you could still probably get a 2025 first round pick for Kyler if you trade him after June 1st. I mean, he's still 25, 26. He's still, a good quarterback, and I know these sound like reasons why you wouldn't want to trade him, but I'm going to go into the reasons why I would. I still think he's an electric and exciting quarterback, and I think there's going to be some team out there that's desperate. I mean, one quick example, look at the Packers. What if Jordan Love doesn't play out this year? Do you think they would be willing to trade a first in 2025 for Kyler Murray?
Maybe.
But this is why I would think the trade doesn't sound as crazy as possible. Because again, like you said, $33 million in dead cap hit for 2025. That's a lot. But now your quarterback is now on a rookie contract. So you're saving so much money that way. For the first year, it's going to be an increased cost. But for the remainder of the rookie contract, you're going to be saving so much more than you would with Kyler. Kyler's costing, I believe, is about an average about $50 million a year. So especially if you're trying to rebuild a roster, that's no longer a huge amount that you have to deal with. It's also a new regime. There's a new GM and it's a new head coach. So they have to go throughout this year already with Kyler and see what they have in him and see if they like it. But they also could very easily cut bait the following year and just have to pay $33 million.
That's fair.
So, and they might want their own guy, especially if we're already hearing the comparisons about what Caleb Williams is going to be the next Mahomes, which we can discuss at a later date. I think that's a little bit of a lofty kind of comparison here. Give the kid some breathing room here, but yeah. I do believe he is a talented quarterback. So I don't think I don't think there's anything Kyler Murray can do that Caleb Williams doesn't have the potential to do.
Yeah.
At $40 million cheaper a year. There were already focused concerns with Kyler in the new contract that he signed. Remember, they had to put he must watch a certain amount of hours of film every week that they had to go back and revise because it became a whole big thing. Mm-hmm. There's been constant jokes about it, about he's on Call of Duty or whatever the game is.
Yeah.
So you already have those kind of concerns about Kyler's mental makeup. In the last 2 seasons, he's been missing games. And, I mean, he's already coming off an ACL tear. And this is from Ian Rappaport, don't be surprised, and this is a direct quote, don't be surprised if we do not see him to start the season or maybe even by the midway point. The injury has to heal perfectly. So we're already going to be missing another half year of Kyler Murray. And then after he comes back, we don't know what kind of player he's going to be. Is he going to have the same running ability? Is it going to take him another year to get back healthy fully to what he was? You're still paying $45 to $55 million a year for that.
Yeah, that's true. So, I just want to say, to your point, too, with the new GM and head coach, Kyler would have to prove that he's the guy, right, for the last portion of the season. Yeah, it's tough.
The injury concerns are definitely starting to pile up a little more. He's missed games the last couple of years. And this also further may allude to Arizona getting their 1 overall pick if their starting quarterback misses over half the season. And here's some interesting facts I was kind of looking about him too. He's only had 1 season with a passer rating over 100. 1 season. It was 100 almost exactly. His average for passer rating is 92.5, which isn't bad, but it's not $50 million a year good. $50 million a year for context is Patrick Mahomes is like Lamar Jackson. It's going to be what Joe Burrow is worth. Would you put Kyler Murray in that range? I don't think I personally would.
That's a good point, Emmett. Why do you even get that massive contract to even begin with? That deal was huge. He's an
exciting quarterback. I mean, he's good for the first half. This is just as a 49ers perspective, from my understanding. I don't watch every Arizona game. But my understanding is he's great in the first half of the season. By the second half, he seems to fall off. And it was a running trend with Arizona under Cliff Kingsbury as well. There was the 1 year they went, I think they started the year 8-0 and then ended up missing the playoffs or got knocked in the wild card round or something like that.
I think that was 2021.
I believe so. I believe you have that right. He also has an 84 touchdown and 41 interception rate. He's never even had a 4,000-yard passing season.
It's
So when you
because of
start
like
really,
injuries.
I mean, he missed, I think it was 3 games 2 years ago, and he missed 5 games this past year. The closest he's come was, I think, 3,900 yards in 2020, which is so far his best season, best passer rating, best yards, everything.
Yeah.
He also doesn't run as much as I thought. He averages, I believe, is about around 400 yards rushing. So again, when you start really looking at Kyler Murray in his entirety, is he worth $50 million? I don't think so. Can he do anything Caleb Williams can't do for you? I don't think so. So if it were me, I would be willing to eat the $33 million in dead cap hit for the one season. And then you have a great quarterback who can do everything you've had plus maybe more on a cheaper deal anyway. And you're still getting a first round pick back in 2025, more than likely. That would be my more than likely guess. I don't know what the direct compensation is. You can get to the nitty-gritty, but even if you get a second and a fifth, right, that still helps with a new, young, rebuilding team.
Yeah.
Versus a quarterback with a $50 million cap hit, who by the time this team gets going might be 30.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I don't know. I think that's my thoughts on that. And I'll be curious to see. Again, we kind of saw what everyone else's thoughts were, but I'd be curious to see how it really plays out. Do I think they really will trade Kyler? I would be surprised if they did. Genuinely, I would be surprised. But if I were building a team, that would probably be the decision I would make.
Yeah.
But that's obviously why I don't get paid that money.
First, and then you get that first overall pick, which I guess they have a chance, but the Bucks, I think, are trying to beat them there. So see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, they still have Mike Evans out there, and they still have Chris Godwin. I mean, they got a decent team out there. It's just a little bit older. Yeah. I think Arizona's really, really depleted up and down the roster. I will say the one thing I do think that Arizona has going for them that I am kind of surprised at this point that they do is I thought for sure Budda Baker would have been traded by now. He demanded a trade like 3 months ago.
Yeah, and he hasn't been worked out. No,
not that, at least not that I've heard. And I know actually he asked for a trade like 3 months ago. From my understanding is that Arizona doesn't want to give him the contract he wants. So that's one thing I will say that does obviously improves Arizona's roster if he shows up and plays to the standard that he is capable of, because he's a great safety.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking it up right now. He's just in no man's land. Like, he hasn't got extended, hasn't gotten traded. He's just, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he might hold out.
Yeah, like I said, I think that kind of speaks to, again, you have a new regime. Every player now has to start all over again with building that rapport and building up their value with that new team. And Kyler Murray gets 9 games before Arizona may be on the clock with the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
So, again, I would just say I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I don't expect it to happen. But if it was like there was some rumors about it right before the draft, which they might happen anyway because they're going to want to build up the value of the number 1 overall pick, and suggestion of, well, maybe we'll just trade Kyler and keep the pick might increase what they can get in return for it anyway. So when you hear that story, don't be surprised.
Yep.
But I think that kind of perfectly segues us a little bit into a different quarterback trade. Again, another poll we put out into the week just to get a little bit of a feeler was we saw, at least I saw a TikTok of Zach Wilson's, I think it was his sister, who was visiting Nashville with the whole Wilson clan family. Mm-hmm. And apparently Zach Wilson was talking about how much he loves Nashville. He's looking for buying a house out there. He wanted to take his whole family and show them around how beautiful of a city it is, which to our viewers and listeners, if you have not been to Nashville, I do recommend it. They have a lot to do for a lot of different people. It's not all just country music things there. It's a great place. So yeah, if you have time, check it out. Fantastic place. But that gave us again the idea of we have no sources, no insider information. We're not suggesting this is for sure going to happen. It's just an idea. Don't kill us.
Or do we? I was kidding. Someone don't kill me with that.
And them comments got a little nasty there throughout the week. People were not. I didn't realize Liberty University had such a following fan base.
Dude, Malik Willis is like the god from there. You know what I mean?
Come on. He's good. I mean, I thought he was good coming out of the draft, but they have such a when I saw the poll got shared around to a couple of Liberty University fan pages, I was like, oh, shit, we fucked up.
I didn't know it got that extensive. What's going on Liberty University pages?
They're gonna find our address.
This is a hypothetical question, people. This is not for real.
Yeah, and again, I don't mean this as a negative way towards Zach Wilson or Malik Willis. I thought it was a potential opportunity for both of them to get fresh starts. But the trade that was suggested was, would the Jets and Titans trade Zach Wilson for Malik Willis and a 2024 7th round pick? They're both backup quarterbacks. That's why the compensation's a little bit low. It's pretty much just a straight up trade. I would say Wilson has a little more value as a former number 2 overall pick. That's why I included the 2024 7th round pick from the Titans. But my thoughts about it were that it would pretty much there's a new regime in Nashville. Not head coach because it's still Mike Vrabel, but it's now Ron Carthman, I believe, is the GM of Tennessee. Came over from San Francisco. I know they did just take Will Levis in the second round, but he's a second round quarterback. They don't have any obligation to just sit here and hand in the keys next year and go, cool, you're the quarterback of our future. What they also tells me about them taking Will Levis in the second round is that kind of puts a kibosh on Malik Willis' time there. You still have Tannehill. You've already now drafted another quarterback. Again, this is a new regime that didn't draft Malik Willis. Maybe they don't see it with him and they're willing to move on. We saw an article actually today, right before we started filming, that there's a couple prominent Tennessee Titans reporters that don't think he'll even make the 53-man roster this year.
Which is true, yeah.
Yeah, which is true. But there's also been signs that he's really taken a step forward and improved. But yeah, it would give Malik Willis a fresh start in New York to learn behind Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and then whenever Rodgers is done, whether that's after this year or after next year, Malik Willis can just step right in and take over. I think New York also runs a little bit of a quarterback-friendly offense. I know it's not. Oh my gosh, who's the Packers head coach's? Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
I know he's not there, but it's still supposed to be like a similar kind of an offense.
Yeah, the same branch of like the coaching tree.
Yeah, it's a lot of play action, rollout kind of stuff. Quarterback friendly, a little bit easier on them. So then Zach Wilson will also get a fresh start in Nashville. Was the other side of this as well? It's a smaller media market, obviously. New York is ravenous and known for being, hostile towards quarterbacks. Yeah, so it gets to take him out of the limelight and protect him a little bit as he sits behind Tannehill and learns the offense and learns a little bit more about getting a little more development in. And it takes more pressure off of him as no longer being a second overall pick for the future of the franchise. Now he gets to come in and just compete with Will Levis. So yeah, I think it could be good for both teams. It's essentially, you're just switching backups. I'm not saying anything negative about either player. I just think it would maybe benefit them to get a new chance in a new place.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts about the trade? Would you do it? Why not? What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, regarding the hypothetical trade between the Titans and the Jets. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing the true benefit to the Jets in this trade scenario, only because at this point in time, you could argue that Zach Wilson is better than Malik Willis. I think that's a fair statement. And seeing as though now, again, we don't have inside sources, and all that's like a joke between us. Yeah. I say that we do, but we really, really don't. But I would assume, right, that the Jets are prepping Zach Wilson to be their franchise QB after Rodgers is done playing, whether that's this season or next season, whatever. Of course, they could be just keeping him on the roster right now for a nice backup, right? Or they could be, hey, we're going to give you a second chance after, the bad man Rodgers is done playing here. So you lose on your potential franchise QB in this trade. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, Malik Willis could do that too, but we're not sure what Malik Willis can do yet. I think like last season, he played for a few games, right? I don't think he really shown a whole lot in those few games. Whereas,
quick question about that. Sorry, yeah. I hate to interrupt. I want to ask a quick question about that. So Zach Wilson was drafted in 2021, right? With Malik Willis going in 2022.
Yes.
If Aaron Rodgers plays 2 more years, he plays this upcoming year and the year after that, wouldn't you then, if you're the Jets, have to make a decision on picking up Zach Wilson's 5th-year option versus Malik Willis? You just get that additional year?
Well, yes, they would. If they believe in Wilson more than Willis. I know it's kind of weird, Wilson and Willis. If they believe in Zach Wilson more than Malik Willis, I think they would happily pick up that 5th-year option and make it a make or break year for him.
Mm. See, if I was the Jets, you've already seen him for 2 years now. And then you get Aaron Rodgers for 2 years, and then you're going to now you have to pay him whatever the 5th year option would be, probably somewhere in the ballpark of $25 million would be my guess.
I don't even know. I need to get better with more like contracts and the finance side of the league, but yeah.
But I know the 5th year option is supposed to be a crap ton of money, especially for quarterbacks. So, I mean, you're going to be paying that for a make or break year for a guy that already had 2 years and couldn't do it. And you're hoping in the past 2 years he's developed versus Malik Willis, you probably get for a much cheaper 4th year. And if he doesn't pan out, well, then you just walk in free agency and you get to draft. I think that would probably, if I were the Jets, that would be my incentive to do it. You don't have to worry. And then it gets, from the questions of, well, what about Zach Wilson? Well, Aaron Rodgers, we're going to see Wilson in there again. It kind of takes a little bit of their, frees up the locker room a little bit from having to talk about that too.
Yeah. I think in that scenario, like, I know this is not inside the scope of what we're talking about, right, but I'm choosing option C, and I'm just picking a new quarterback at a whole. Like, if I have to look at Zach Wilson 5th year, Malik Willis 4th year, or a new quarterback after Rodgers done playing, I'm just going for a new quarterback at that point. Like, yeah. What I mean. But yeah.
Yeah, but you don't want to get stuck in quarterback limbo because, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers plays well, you might be drafting in those 20 to 32 range.
Yeah. Willis needs to play. Like, that's the whole, like, if he was playing if he started last season and we actually had like tape on him, we had a feel of who he was, that would make this picture a whole lot clearer. It's just like, it's hard to compare a guy who has 2 seasons worth of film out there and a guy who played for like 2 or 3 games last season and didn't show a whole lot.
And I do want to give credit to Tennessee Titans fans. And there was one in particular, I believe it was a Tennessee Titans blog that we will shout out when we actually post this video, who went through and cut up the tape of the game Malik Willis did play against the Chiefs and showed that Malik did actually play much better than the stats suggested. There was a lot of drop passes. He really wasn't getting much help out there, and he was just trying to like make things happen. But
which is usually the case. That's yeah.
So to clarify, you would not do this trade.
If I'm the Jets, I will not do it. Now the Titans, I'll be like, hell yeah, because getting Zach Wilson would probably make that QB room a little bit better than what it is right now. But if I'm the Jets, I am not doing it.
So you're just not a trades kind of guy. You play Madden and you're like, trades off. We're not. Fantasy football, don't even contact me. I'm not trading nobody for nothing.
Reject.
Yeah, for me personally, I think if I were the Jets or the Titans, I'd probably do this trade. Just again, it kind of frees us up. It's just switching up backup quarterbacks. If you're the Jets, you get something new in Malik Willis and what he can grow into behind Aaron Rodgers without having to deal with what was the former number overall 2 overall player going to play. And if you're the Titans, it does strengthen your quarterback room because he still has the potential of a former number 2 overall pick, but he's shown there's some bust potential there. So you're not as, again, obligated to sit here and roll with him for the quarterback of the future when Tannehill leaves next year. Because I think it's another thing that plays a role into this is you have a 1-year decision to make in Tennessee because Tannehill's only got the 1 more year versus maybe a 2-year decision to make in New York because Aaron Rodgers, I think, still has 2 more years on his deal, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's a 2-year deal, yeah.
Yeah, so if it were me, if I was the other teams, I'd probably just take the deal. And for you, you'd only take it if you were the Titans.
Correct.
All right, there we go. There's our punchline. Brendyn Ford never trades.
Smart trade.
I'm just kidding. So speaking of trades, this perfectly segues us right into the next trade that we're going to be talking about. This offseason, the Bears made a trade for DJ Moore from Carolina to Chicago.
Hell yeah.
We've kind of looked over the numbers in last week's podcast. So if you haven't seen that yet, pause this right now, go back. It's all timestamped. Check out that little segment. Rejoin us here. But we believe Justin Fields and DJ Moore are on the precipice of an explosion. The numbers translate very similarly to Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown right before their trade happened. So you did a whole lot of data analysis on this. You've gone deep diving in. You've gotten the tinfoil hat on. You're in the rabbit hole, the bunker. Oh, yeah. I'm going to let you just have your nice 10-minute tangent here. Can DJ Moore be a top 10 receiver in passing yards next season?
So regarding DJ Moore, my dude in Chicago and the Navy and Orange now, can he be a top 10 receiver again regarding receiving yards with the Bears? The short answer is yes, but it largely depends on Justin Fields and the overall offense, right? As we knew, or as we know now, if you don't know already, the Bears not throw a ball at all last season. They were 32nd ranked in passing attempts and yardage last season in 2022, right? So when you think of that, you think there's no way a receiver from that offense could crack the top 10, let alone the top 16, or let alone the top 25, right? So what I did is I looked at 3 seasons worth of data. All right, I looked at 2020, the 2021 season, and 2022. And I looked at the top 10 receivers in those 3 respective seasons, right? And I wanted to find, okay, what are the median pass attempts and the median passing yards for that team that had a top 10 receiver? And this is what I found. The median passing attempts were 579, and the median passing yards were 4,300. Now, to the average viewer, it might be like, okay, whatever. What does that truly mean for DJ Moore and Justin Fields and the offense? Well, to put it into context for you all, Justin Fields would have to essentially double the amount of passing attempts and passing yards to give DJ Moore a chance to crack the top 10, which that seems very, very daunting, right? You have to increase, again, I'll say it again, the double amount of pass attempts and double the yardage for DJ Moore to crack the top 10. Now, when you break that down by game, right? 17 games, 4,300 yards, that's about 200, let's say 253 yards a game. Doesn't seem so bad when you break it down. When you look at pass attempts, that's 34 passing attempts per game, right? And then you add another layer to it. You might say to yourself, okay, what does DJ Moore's target share have to be, right, to hit those numbers to be a top 10 receiver? Well, he needs a 26% target share, okay? So
Those are questions that fans ask.
Was that?
Those are questions that fans ask.
Yes. So I know that was the first question. They're like, what's the target share percentage?
My guy needs this year to be a top 10 receiver.
Which that is the target share, the median target share for the top 10 receivers over the past 3 seasons. So again, those are 30 data points. So I just gave you a short answer. I gave you all the nerdy data details. And here's the recap.
The dirty, nerdy details.
The dirty and nerdy details. The recap is, can Moore be a top 10 receiver in 2023? Yes, but it's going to take a pretty drastic change, right? Going from, seriously, the lowest throwing team in the league to potentially being, if Fields hits those numbers, he'll be, stats-wise, a top 10 quarterback next season. So going from the lowest to the top 10 is going to be a pretty drastic change.
What do you think has changed for the Bears this offseason to maybe put them in a position of where they might need to be throwing the ball at almost a double rate than they did the season prior?
That's a good question. So the defense is still pretty it's better. Last season it was hot dog water. This season it's a little bit better, right?
No, that's a Midwest reference. If someone says it's hot dog water, no, they're from somewhere in the Midwest.
It's AKA the defense was pretty bad. So, hey, if the Bears want to win more than 3 games this year, they need to score lots of points. Because that defense, I feel it's going to give up 21, 24 points a game. And you might be saying to yourself, well, don't they have like a top 5 linebacker unit? Well, yes, they do. But they have no one rushing the passer because Ryan Poles just refuses to get any sort of free agent or make a trade. So to answer your question, Emmett, yes. So the thing that's different is, one, I think they actually want to win games this season, hopefully, which means the offense needs to be explosive, which means throw the ball more often. He might be behind some games and throw the ball often to DJ Moore. So he can be a top 10 dude.
Specifically targeting DJ Moore, so he can be a top 10.
He's the only person. Like on the scouting report, I want to see number one throws number two often. Yes.
Well, again, further to your last point of the why there might be an increase. I mean, like you did kind of mention, the Bears' pass defense specifically may not be a top 15 unit in the league. So they're probably going to have to be in, throwing the ball to stay in a lot of games or keep a lead in a lot of games. They're not going to be able to essentially just, drop back and put this one away. They don't have a strong enough edge rush to let those guys go and seal it for them. So they're going to have to rely on the offense, on Justin Field passing, on DJ Moore scoring touchdowns or gaining first downs to really lock the game up. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of games this year where the Bears are like midway through the third, okay, let's just run the ball. Let's get out of here. Let's get this done and over with. So I think that does further allude to your point of they should have should have an improved offensive line, because I think they had like one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line last year.
I have a quick point on that. I think PFF hates the Bears O-line. So last season, towards the end, they had him ranked like 13th best. And I was like, dude, I watched all 17 games. I mean, like, I almost had to take painkillers to watch it, but I watched all 17 games. And there's no way the O-line was 13th best. And now after the various changes, right, after drafting Darnell Wright, which I say various change. Oh, I guess they did sign Nate Davis, so they made two changes there. They're now ranked like 21st. So they lost like 8 spots.
Yeah, I think PFF, because we did look at some of the position units in the NFC North in a segment coming up here, and I did kind of notice that they had the rookies ranked very low, which I can kind of get because we haven't seen them play in the NFL. We don't know how they translate. But to further that point, or to, I guess, ask that question, do you feel the Bears should have gone harder at Mike McGlinchey then to really solidify that O-line to help get DJ Moore to be a top 10 passer? Or do you feel like, nah, that's okay, we moved on, we found something better, and we like it more?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Emmett. I mean, I don't know per se, like, your statement you made like about it finding better. I'm not sure if it's better right now because you're comparing, a rookie to a pretty seasoned vet. So right off the bat, I feel like who knows if Wright will be better than him. But I do like the pick though. I really enjoyed that pick. A lot of people regarded Darnell Wright as one of the best, if not the best tackle in this class. You have their homegrown guy, right? Someone who can, develop and grow. So I like the pick. I mean, I love Darnell Wright. He's one of my favorite picks from that class for the Bears. I just hope they gel. They moving Tevin Jenkins from the right guard to left guard. Braxton Jones, he has a big second season here coming up. So, and then have Cody White here, who's been with the Bears for since 2018. Yeah, I believe
he's solid, right?
Yeah, he's pretty solid. He plays center coming out of college, and then they moved him to guard during the good old Matt Nagy era. Yeah, but now he's back at center, so should be good. See what happens though.
Good. Well, I'm of the belief that I think he can do it. I think I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year we see him in the 8, 9, 10 range there. I think the Bears, like I said before, I think the Bears are going to be in a lot of close games where they're going to need to keep the offense humming along, and they can't just shut it down and start thinking about next week. So yeah, sure. I agree with you. I think we're both in agreement here that for sure we could see DJ Moore as a top 10 receiver at the end of the year, and he's done it before, didn't he? I think he did it a couple times previously.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. I didn't realize. So in 2020, if I remember, he was 9th overall in receiving yards, and then he was 10th in 2021. And then he took a pretty large dip in 2022. I think he was ranked 26 in receiving yards, mostly in part because the Panthers threw the ball, I want to say 140 times less than they did in 2020, and then 90 times less than what they did in 2021 when looking at 2022 numbers. He still finished with 800 yards last season. And if he would have got the same, or if the passing volume was the same in 2022, he would have finished with the range was 1,000 to almost 1,200 yards, I think. So would have put him right there in the top 10 again. So yeah.
So it looks like he has a history of it, and it looks like he might be able to do it again this year if he has a bounce back season.
Yes, sir.
But speaking of bounce back seasons and seeing what people are capable of, I want to ask you, do you think the Packers can make a run in the NFC North, maybe not to the Super Bowl, but just in the NFC North, if Jordan Love plays that league average number for quarterback?
Yeah, that's a good question, Emmett. Regarding the Packers, I feel as though the media, I feel like this is a common thing. I'm going a little, I know we're kind of short on time. I'm kind of going a little tangent here. I feel like the media just kind of copies each other's thoughts and opinions a lot, right? So if one person says, "Oh, this team is going to be awful," the next media source will say that, and it will keep spreading. And regarding the Packers, and again, I'm a Bears fan, but here at the Rational Football League podcast show, we don't take bias into factor here.
I'm so glad we don't talk baseball, because I would definitely take a bias in baseball.
Right. Well, it's tough. You want to say something bad, okay, you got to rear back a little bit. Come on.
I just want to provide a context, because we do have 49ers fans that watch our podcast, and a lot of them are Giants fans too, and they don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the Bears and the Packers. But guys, just understand, for any 49ers fan out there, what B is going to sit here and attempt to do right now would be like, as a Giants fan, trying to say positive things about the Dodgers.
It's tough.
So please keep that in your thoughts when he's talking about the Packers here and he's saying anything nice about them.
Please give me your thoughts and prayers, guys. Come on. So can the Packers make a run for the NFC North? Yes, I really think they do. Let me give you some points here. So I looked at their schedule, and I think best case scenario, they could be a 9-win team in 2023. So going back what we said about the North a couple weeks ago, right? I think 9 games could be, in the running for winning the North. I think this season the North is kind of weak. It kind of reminds me of the 2010s, NFC East, where you had teams winning 7, 8, 9 games and going to the playoffs, right? And then when you look at, and again, this is an article from PFF. They posted some article that ranks all the NFL, all 32 teams, rosters outside of the quarterback spot. The Packers have the best overall roster when looking at teams in the North. So, again, it's all close, right? They're all I think
the Packers were 16. I think they had the Vikings at 20 or 21. So
yeah, it was Packers 16. I want to say Lions at 17 or 18, Bears at 19, Vikings at 20. So it's all very, very close.
And to remind our viewers, this did not include quarterbacks and did not include tight ends.
Did not include quarterback, did not include tight ends. Yeah, thank you. So just looking at a few units there. But they have talent. So that tells me they have talent outside the quarterback spot, right? And they have a top 10 RB unit and a top 10 O-line. So then you think to yourself, okay, even if their defense is average, right? Just run the ball 20, 30 times, control that clock, keep your defense off the field, right? And nature seems simple, right? But it's not how football always works. And I do know the Packers roster as of right now is the second youngest in the NFL. So that will go against them at some point. We have a young roster. It's going to take time to, kind of find your rhythm. So maybe the first half of the season might be tough, but do I think they can make a run for the North, though? Yes, I think the Packers can definitely make a run for the North.
I do want to contribute this to your point here, because we are the Rational Football League show. We are former football players, and we want to think like former football players. But even to your point of the Packers just running the ball, you said 20, 30. I'd probably expect them to run it 30 to 40 times if you're trying to really manage a clock and protect your weakened roster or your defense. But again, as a defense coordinator, my game plan that week would be, well, I know they're going to run the ball, so let me stack the box with 8, 9, 10 guys if need to be. And so the Packers season really seems like it's going to depend on, is Jordan Love able to threaten the defense to keep them honest? Because if the defense never feels like they really need to give a serious thought to the pass game, then you're like a boat without a motor. You're just stuck in the water.
All right.
You'll never get it going because again, if you run it on first, they stop you for 2-yard loss. You run it on second, you get 3. Now it's third and 9. So now they know they can just pin their ears back and go after you.
Yeah.
So like I feel like for the Packers especially, and we're not saying anything new here, their season's strongly going to depend on if Jordan Love can keep defenses honest. And if he can't, it's going to be a long year to watch. I'm sorry, you were completed, correct, right? You were finished your thought?
Yes, I am good there with the
sorry,
good old cheeseheads.
I took a little bit different approach on this kind of question. I kind of like looked at the entirety of the NFC North, and it really is going to be a lot closer on paper than it really seems like when you just kind of hear of all the moves that are made. Going back to that list you talked about with PFF, they really kind of seem to grade the rookies low, which again is I believe that's fair. We don't know what they're going to do in the NFL. Anything they did in college doesn't count for nothing in the NFL. But they had the Lions running backs graded at 16th, and the Bears O-line graded at 21. Again, both units are going to be heavily featuring rookie and young guys. So, but I think the whole NFC North, and this is going to be like the title line of it, is going to really depend. It's going to strongly depend on quarterback play and rookies. For example, for the Lions, if Gibbs, Campbell, Laporta, and Brian Branch all catch fire early, they immediate starters. They immediately start contributing well. I mean, it's the Lions' division to take. I mean, they have the best quarterback, or one of the best quarterbacks in that division, and it really should just be, that would fill the majority of their holes. And again, we're not saying to make it the Super Bowl run, but I think for the North, that would give them the best argument. For the Packers, it's about quarterback play. Like I said before, can Jordan Love play at league average or good? Can he keep defenses honest? Because if a defense can't, I don't know how many people here have watched, the University of Wisconsin football game, but those running backs are going against 10-man boxes because Wisconsin historically doesn't have good quarterbacks. It'll be just like that. You need to keep the defense, at least to believe you might hit them on a deep shot. Because if you don't, they're just going to pile the boxes. And I don't care how good your running back is. I don't care if you have Derrick Henry back there or Adrian Peterson. You're not going to get anything against 10 dudes in a box. I do want to include for our viewers that don't know specifically what that means. I don't want to assume anyone's familiarity, but the box is the line, the imaginary line between the D line and the linebackers. So essentially what that would be looking like is you have pretty much just like one corner out on the receiver, and then everyone else, the linebacker safeties are all within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
So not really a whole lot of running room. I don't even think Kyle Shanahan can come up with a play design to get, running back at 6 inches of daylight against a 10-man box. But if he doesn't do that, they can very quickly become, bottom dwellers in the division. It'll be a tough season to watch. For the Vikings, it's the same thing. They have great quarterback play or good quarterback play, but can the offense carry a bad defense? They spent their first round pick on Jordan Addison, another receiver. That's the clear, obvious strength is they have quarterback play and they have receiver play. What is the running back going to do? How is that defense going to look? It's a little bit changed, a little bit revamped. They went younger. Are some of the guys they drafted there going to be able to step up? I know they took a corner or two and a D lineman. So, but they seem to me to have the weakest case for the NFC North. Then moving on to your Bears, theirs is again a little bit of both. They need, how well do the rookies play? How well is that? Is Darnell Wright going to play? At right tackle, can he protect Justin Fields and help set up the offense? And then the Field Moore combo, is it going to explode? So, like I said, to me, that's the division more than any other division that really is going to strongly rely and we'll see the results of it based on quarterback play and rookies.
Love it.
I do think this leads us into a final topic. Speaking about rookies here, we are going to go with some surprise teams that may not be on your radar, viewer. When we did post, we did ask a couple questions or post a couple thoughts throughout the week on our Twitter page. Again, go check it out. Great way to contact us, get in reach with us, tell us your thoughts about things. But we made a couple comments about, what's a receiver to watch? This guy might be good. Oh, Xavier Worthy might be good from Texas. and the very passionate, very strong Washington fan base politely let us know
politely.
we need to be on the lookout for the Washington Huskies this year. And we took them, we heard them, we want to show that we listened to them. They're my college team to watch this year. And kind of when we talked about in the pregame show, I got some of the numbers here, listing it off. It caught you off guard because you didn't hear anything about it.
I had no clue.
Yeah. So for starters, they averaged 26 points per game last year. Michael Penix Jr., the transfer from Indiana, who's now a Heisman finalist watch, which again, if you didn't watch Washington, sounds weird. You're like, why is he the guy to watch? Well, let me tell you why he's the guy to watch. He threw for over 4,600 yards in 13 games last year. 4,600. That's more than Jalen Hurts threw in the NFL, and he was an MVP candidate. Or did he win? No, he's a candidate. I mean, that's an insane amount of yardage. He had a 31 touchdown to 8 interception ratio.
I just want to make a quick point. For those that haven't registered that stat line, he threw 4,600 yards in 13 games.
Yeah.
Like, let that sink in. Like, that's wild.
I think that would have been third in the NFL this year?
Dude, if he played 17 games, he was throwing for 6,000 yards.
Yeah. In 4 last games in the NFL, he threw for more than over almost any other quarterback in the NFL. Again, so I'm sure not many people heard that because I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, he did? There really hasn't been any attention to that. I mean, that's such a mind-blowing stat.
That man is a cheat code.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, usually hear a guy threw for 5,000 yards at some small, I forgot Western Kentucky has fans. They chewed us out as well, by the way.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, no, that was a surprise. Western Kentucky has fans. A lot of them, apparently.
Who hasn't chewed us out yet? Jeez.
I think Alabama fans are still okay with us.
Well, just wait till we start talking about Roll Tide and every on our neck.
I know. But yeah, I mean, usually you hear about that from some small school that throws the ball 95% of the time. I mean, this is a Pac-12 decent sized program here that just put up 4,600 yards. He had a passer rating of 151.3, and this is just my personal opinion. I believe he has an untapped running potential. And we'll get this into after the season. We start talking about draft prospects and everything else. But I do want to clarify this now. When I say a guy plays similarly to another player, I mean in the way of what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, or maybe their style of play. I am not in any way saying he is going to become that. That's not what that means. I'm just saying if you watch him, you can kind of think, oh yeah, he kind of does remind me of this player. Michael Penix Jr. reminds me a little bit of Lamar Jackson, a left-handed Lamar Jackson. The kind of weird way they kind of throw, the lengthy, the ball, they look, usually when you're making your reads, you kind of want to work you want to work deep to short, but a lot of quarterbacks get to short pretty quick. They are sticking it deep. I went back and watched the 2020 Penn State Indiana highlights, and I don't remember too many throws that were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage that weren't screens. I mean, everything this man threw, he was trying to push the ball down the field. Very reminiscent of Lamar Jackson. He also ran it in for an early touchdown in the game, as well as a 2-point conversion to end up winning the game over Penn State. I do think he has some untapped running potential. I don't think it's Lamar Jackson-esque. I don't think it's as good as Lamar Jackson, but I definitely think there's some potential there. Another stat that might blow your mind here. They had 2 1,000-yard receivers at Washington last year.
Which is wild.
2 1,000-yard receivers. You know how rare that is in the NFL? It doesn't happen very commonly in the NFL. And this is a college team that had 2 receivers, Jalen McMillan and if I say this wrong, I apologize. Rome Odunze, who's apparently supposed to be considered a top 5 receiver in this upcoming draft and in college football. This is the first time I've heard his name, was looking these numbers up.
I'd never heard of him. Never.
Again, I know I'm fairly new to watching college football, but B watches it pretty regularly, and this is a new name to him. Jalen McMillan, I think, had 1,069, and Rome had over 1,160, I believe. And slightly off in those numbers, but both one over 1,000, one over 1,100. And they have another guy, Jalen Poole, who's supposed to be another dude who had almost 800 yards receiving as well. They still had a running back that got over 900 yards rushing as well. So they're not just a pass-happy only team. So they are a good, well-balanced offense. The flaw with them last year was their defense was a little bit weak. Their offense more often than not had to compensate for them, but they still went 11-2. 11-2 in a conference that still has Oregon, USC, and UCLA in it.
Utes, Utah too,
and the Utes, Utes are there. I mean, 11-2 is a ridiculous record.
Yeah.
On defense this upcoming year, they did lose, one of their top defensive linemen to the draft. He went undrafted, but a couple names I would still be watching out for is Braylon Trice, who had 12 tackles for losses last year and 10 sacks. He's coming back for his junior year. They also added Jabbar Muhammad, who is a transfer from Oklahoma State corner. I think he had 7 pass breakups and an interception last year at Oklahoma State. And I believe their linebacker, who I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I don't feel like being ridiculed on Twitter this week. But he had 13 tackles against, I believe it was Michigan, 16 against Oregon. I believe it was 18 against UCLA. So, I mean, just another dude who's ready to take that next step forward in the program. So the only concern I really have about them is, can the defense really keep up with the offense officially or finally? And how do they compete with USC? Because there's lofty goals and expectations for USC this year. But Washington is my team to watch. Their offense will be entertaining as hell. It'll be interesting to see how the defense competes. And that purple is a nice color. It's easy on the eyes to watch this year. So if you're born on a Saturday, put on a Washington game. B, what is your team to watch this year in college?
So, I watched a good amount of college football, and I didn't want to say there's Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin, and that's not really much of a sleeper pick. I feel like they've gotten a lot of national media coverage with Luke Fickell coming over. Dude, they're going to be good. I mean, I would be surprised if they're not in the Big Ten championship game this season.
Do you as an Ohio State Buckeye fan feel a little threatened there? Are they coming for the Buck crown?
I don't necessarily feel threatened yet, only because we're in different divisions. until they merge them, then maybe. Yeah.
Hey, you don't normally feel Bucky till he's right behind you.
Oh my god! What is that furry?
Oh my god!
No, I love Wisconsin. I got tons of respect for them. I don't think I ever told you this, Emmett. My uncle went there, so I've been to about 5 to 7 games throughout my life. I grew up in a city an hour outside of Madison, so I love Wisconsin. I actually wanted to go there for school, but I got waitlisted. We don't need to talk about that.
Did you know I've actually been on the field?
What's that?
Did you know I've actually been on the field?
Did I actually go down on? Oh yeah,
I got onto the field.
Oh, you got on the field.
Yeah, I got on the field. I got to run a couple of plays. After the cops did arrest me for trespassing, but I technically
I was so confused. I was on the field for post game hangout with the players.
For those that don't know, Camp Randall, which is where the Badgers play, if you go through their gift shop, you can walk right on this little patio that's got a 3-foot fence. You can just step over, and you're in the end zone.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting anyone should do it, but if you wanted to, you could be a Badger for a minute.
You could be a Badger for a minute. For 30 seconds, you get laid out by the police.
Yeah. Madison, come on. Yeah. You're really terrified of the Madison police? No,
they'll tackle you, I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. And then pick you up and go.
Just into the stands, please.
But I don't want to say a team. The Washington, for your example, Washington was a great example. I mean, they're the best 11-2 team I've never heard about. And Penix throwing up those are Heisman numbers, and I feel like he wasn't getting talked about at all. So I'm taking a different path. I know we talked about this in the pre-show if I actually was going to talk about this team, but I am. I'm going outside of Division I. I'm going to the powerhouse of D3 football, North Central College. I'm giving props to them. I feel as though everyone just shits on D3 football. We both seen it. We both play D3 ball, and I'm actually proud of that. We saw Dave Portnoy make a video a month ago saying, why would you play D3 football? It's shit. I'm tired of this, man. People don't understand some of the competition in D3 football. And just outside of my backyard, we have a 2-time defending, back-to-back national championship team in North Central College, and they're going for three-peat this season. Don't ask me about players, okay? They're all studs.
Well, you know one player. You know one player on the team.
My brother is playing on the team this season. It'll be his first time with the team.
So do we have to put a paid sponsorship thing up here now?
Yeah, right. He'll be on there. And I'm sure the rest of the squad, I haven't gone through the roster, but we all know these three guys do get looks from the league if they can ball. And if you're on a national championship winning team, I'm sure as hell you can play football. So,
just a couple of examples. I mean, even where we went in Stevens Point, right before I got there, who was the left tackle that ended up going to Wisconsin? He transferred to Wisconsin and then got drafted by the Saints in the first round.
I think you're thinking of Ryan.
Ryan Ramchuk. If you look it up, he started his college career off at University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Luke Gerke, right? That's how I say his last name. I just know him as Luke.
I think
Luke Gerke.
Yeah.
He's now a guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe he won the Super Bowl with them too, or at least made the Super Bowl appearance with them. He was a draft pick from Eastern Michigan or Central Michigan.
Central, yep.
Go a little bit further back. He was actually a tight end at the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yep. There was Mertz from Colorado was, I believe, a third or fourth round pick. He's from Whitewater. That's in the same division.
Yep.
So there is a lot of value to third round Division III football players. So if you're drunk and you just feel like wasting a lot of money on gambling, you can turn on this Division III football team. How do you find them? Are they on ESPN 3, ESPN 15?
So the best way, if you guys do want to get more involved with the lower level divisions, best way to find them is search up, Google the school's name, and you will see their own streaming. They usually stream on like YouTube, right? So you click on like the school's link, it'll route you to the YouTube link, and that's how you can watch them. And I really think that'd be part of it's going to be my side mission with this podcast, Emmett, is to bring respect to every division outside this, the Power 5 D1 guys. I feel like a lot of people who don't necessarily know a lot about football and what it really entails, they kind of shit on lower level divisions. And I think it'd be a good amount of talent there. I think we as a whole need to give more respect to the lower level divisions for sure.
And well, since we're on that same subject, I just want to toss out two more names that, one, I don't believe will compete for a national championship, but I do think there should be a good, fun team to watch. Stanford. They just got their new head coach from Sacramento State, who made it to, I believe, the second or third round of the national championship playoff bracket. They went undefeated. He came to Sac State, which was a joke of a program. Like they were the we don't watch, we don't talk program. And I mean, within, I think it was a year or two, like they won 3 consecutive Big Sky championships. They compete against teams like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, if you've heard of any of those programs before. But he did leave for Stanford, but I think he can turn that program around pretty well. He's very respected in the locker room, from my understanding. He even got guys from Sac State being drafted as high as the 3rd round. One went to the Patriots. He was a safety linebacker in betweener. And with that, I'd also tell you to check out Sac State, as they are a returning Big Sky champion again. This should be a fun program to watch. I know last year they ran a little interesting offense with a 2-quarterback system. But, yeah, if you're looking for, again, they usually play later in the day. So once those big Oklahomas and Auburns and Alabamas are done playing, you're like, I got nothing else I want to do. Check them out. Turn them on. And even D3, you can actually find, if you go to the ESPN app, you can actually find they have a section for Division III football.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so I checked up on a couple of like the Whitewater scores or the Stevens Point scores. You can actually go into the app and look it up there.
There we go.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps up this episode this week. Thank you so much for tuning in with us again for episode, I believe this is 10 of ours already, right?
Episode 10.
Wow.
Double digits.
Episode 10.
Boom.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to follow us. We are on, again, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and now Threads. Tell your friends, share some clips. Feel free to comment, interact with us. We love talking to people all the time. But until next time, we'll see you. This has been the Rational Football League Show.